Hey, this is Jared Dees from thereligionteacher.com. The parable of the sower, or we might refer to it as the parable of the soils, is really significant in understanding how we as Christians receive the Word of God, how we as Christians are living out our faith in the world. And it's one of the few parables that Jesus actually explains to his disciples, to the people that are listening, because he wants them to really know what to look out for. And so as we read the parable, we can look for some warning signs that maybe we're not living out our faith in the way that we should. So Jesus describes a sower, someone who goes out and he's sowing seeds in the field. And some of the seed falls on a path that we walk on. Some of the seed falls on rocky ground. Some of the seeds falls among thorns. And some seed falls on the good soil. And we'll get to the good soil in a moment. But then he goes on to explain who are the people that are the seeds in the path, or the rocks, or the thorns. And what happens? The people that are the seeds that are being sown on the path, they might hear the word of God, but they don't understand it because of the evil one. Because the devil is there, tempting us and stopping us from understanding what we're hearing and how we should be living our faith. Other people might, as Christians, hear the word of God, but this seed might receive it with joy at first, maybe like a really emotional experience at first. Maybe they really do love the idea of being a Christian, but when there's any kind of a trial or persecution, they lose that faith. That joy is taken away by some kind of a difficulty. The faith is gone too, and they're not able to bear fruit. And finally, the thorns. Some people might understand the word of God. They might live it with joy, but why aren't they bearing fruit? Why are these Christians who might look like they're faith-filled people not actually bear fruit in the world? What's going on? Well, they're being lured away by riches, by greed, or the worldly anxiety. So the things of this world stop them from bearing fruit in the lives of the people that they are helping as Christians. So that's the problem with the seed that's being sown on the path, or the rocks, or the thorns. But what about the good soil? The good soil receives the word of God, understands it, so they have that understanding, and resist the temptations of the evil one. They're not letting the trials or persecutions take away the joy that they have, and they're not allowing that lure of greed and anxiety pull them into the world and focusing on only their selfishness and themselves. Instead, someone's living in the good soil when they receive and understand the word of God, and they're bearing fruit, not just a little bit, but 100x, or 60x, or 30x, that they are bearing so much fruit that it's making such a giant impact among people that they're serving, among people in the world. So this parable is trying to explain to us, be on guard against the evil one, because we might be on the path and not understanding what we are hearing because we're giving into the temptations of the devil. Or we might be receiving that word of God with joy. We might have a love being Christian. We might love our faith, but we're not actually living it because of some kind of a difficulty, trial, persecution that's pulling us away. And then finally, those thorns, the greed, the anxiety of this world might stop us from bearing fruit. So instead, recognize and search for the good soil. And if you are a Christian right now, support other people by being the good soil for them. Support other people by allowing them to help understand the Word of God, understand how to be a Christian so that they can bear fruit. That's how we help multiply the fruit that we are bearing in the world, the good things that we are doing or experiencing in the world by helping each other out as a church, as Christians. So that's the parable of the sower, or like I said, might be termed as the parable of the soils, because it expresses how in which we should recognize or be aware of receiving our faith, and then actually living it out to bear fruit in the world. Go make disciples. God bless.